Abigail used to be a toy maker in an earlier life. And that's not to suggest that her poems are toys, but they are intricately made things. In a sense, they are automata with souls that somehow, as you hear them move, they do have some kind of echo, definitely. They echo in you and they echo in themselves. Abigail Parry.
In the dream of the cold restaurant, the man with the buttonhole and broad lapels is folding and refolding a white napkin. Look, say his hands at intervals. A swan, a dancing girl. An intricate scale model of the Morn Library on Chancery Lane. The man adjusts his buttonhole and coughs as each one fails precisely to entertain. A waitress intervenes, bringing 2 plates. Fluted, plain, translucent, and quite empty. Such is the gaunt extravagance of dreams. That waitress, though, all elbows, wrists, and hips. A strip of exposed skin reveals a scar on the nub of bone that finishes the spine. No, not a scar. A burn. A full-blown wet rosette, just like the one you earned at 17 from a jig on a nylon carpet. A carpet not unlike this carpet here, lalling its beige hoops and braids around the table's feet. Meanwhile, on the mezzanine, someone lifts a book and reads the line, "He left his knee exposed and dreamed of travelling on a mail coach by night." Or quite. When you offer up your plate, it turns beneath your hands to a crumpled swan. The man, of course, has gone. Such is the glib economy of dreams. So find a way to bear it, if you can. The man who folds and cannot please. The cheap carpet telling its idiot riddle. The girl who has not learned to move between compassion and contempt. But then other people's dreams are very dull, as the waitress knows with all the brutal certainty of being 17. And she's gone too. She'll pull this city to the ground before she'll take your plate, let alone your pity. I don't think I have anything to offer by way of a fluent or clever segue between that poem and the next poem, except to say that this very precise scenario is almost indistinguishable from one of my own anxiety dreams, because there are like 2,000 of you there, and I am about to read a poem titled Speculum. If you do not know what a speculum is, it is a kind of gynecological crank. It works a little bit like the jack on a car, but it is used for much more intimate procedures. I have no idea what kind of masochist does this, but speculum. I like the word, how pert it is. Inquisitive. Part instrument, part clockwork bird. the kind that says, ho-hum, and clicks and squeaks in all its joints. A whimsical professor, beaked and blinking. Let's take a look then, shall we? In the Vulgate, it's a mirror. Videmus nunc per speculum. Only later on are we through a glass and darkly. An odd phrase, that. A pane of sullen blue behind each eye. You don't look through a mirror. You go not till I set you up a glass where you may see the inmost part of you. That's Hamlet to his mother. In a sec, he'll get all weird about her bed and stick his sword straight through an arras. As for me, I find it strange to speak in one breath of one's conscience and one's cunnus. Hard to know thyself, when for years the only way was with a mirror tilted up. For a long time, I believed it was an absence, blank, negative, the lab could not develop, an ellipsis. Imagine my surprise to find the way extended upwards, backwards, inwards. All the same, I'm bothered by the rhyme that finds my center in its recess. And yes, I find it tiresome to be arriving in my body again and again each time we talk of what is intimate. No way back now to the place where we first looked in a mirror and cringed into our borders, turning inwards. But I want a better metaphor than this dull fuss of sloven pinks or a room partitioned off. Like Alice in the sequel, slipping through to find everything she knows inverted on its axis and nonsensical. I'm going to end on a short one, necessarily short because it was written to meet a challenge, and a challenge that I did in fact find quite challenging. A friend of mine challenged me to write just a straight-up love poem. In fact, the way that he put it was, "You are incapable of writing a straight-up love poem." So the challenge was sincere, heart on sleeve, no bullshit. So this is that poem. The title of the poem is "The Brain of the Rat in Stereotaxic Space." Stereotaxy, if you're not familiar with neural imaging, is a technique for rendering a three-dimensional space, like the brain, in two-dimensional coordinates. It's really romantic. The brain of the rat in stereotaxic space is all laid out on numbered plates, in lilacs, greys, and greens which adumbrate the local function, a riddle flattened out, a knot bisected down the interaural line. The brain of the rat in stereotaxic space admits no trace of all the little rat thoughts, little rat needs that scurry round its maze, just page on numbered page of isthmuses and commissures and junctions and rhombomeres all jigsawed into place. The brain of the rat in stereotaxic space insists the pieces tessellate and nothing else squeaks in. Just fig on numbered fig glossed in 8-point lowercase. The brain of the rat in stereotaxic space invites us to extrapolate and come up with grim stuff. Here's no ghost, no guest, no hidden ace tucked up a sleeve. No sleeve, in fact, just stacks of coloured plates. The brain of the rat in stereotaxic space has something to relate about how late it is, how much has been a waste. Grateful, nonetheless, to have had my time at a kink of neural space that more or less exactly corresponds to that way you had yours. A riddle uttered once between one blank page and the next. And that will do, I think. Thank you for having me.